It's 7:10. Ryan Switzer in the Magic 97 Morning Show, joined once again by Swift Current Mayor Jerrod Schafer, who always joins us on the Magic 97 Morning Show, the morning after City Council. Good morning, Jerrod.
Morning, Ryan. How are you?
So far, so good, man.
Good.
I know this past, late last week and this past weekend, Swift Current playing host for a very, very prestigious provincial event. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Sask Parks and Recreation had chose Swift Current to host its annual conference, and they had an awards banquet, and I wanted to thank our staff at the City of Swift Current. SPRA partnered with the City Rec and Parks Department and really raised the bar, had a first-class event. Obviously, former Canadian Olympian Silken Laumann was in town speaking at it. It was terrific at the awards banquet. They recognized one of our own here in Swift Current, the Friends of the Parkway, or Pathway, so those folks that do that job of taking care of those great rest areas and flower beds along the Chinook Pathway were recognized. So great event in Swift Current, and brought a lot of people in, and we thank them for it.
Yeah, sure is nice hosting events like that. And I know that awards banquet in the Sky Center, just the first-class evening, eh?
Yeah, you know what? I've had actually a couple of classy Fridays in there between the Spirit of Swift Current Awards and the SPRA banquet. So yeah, it's great. Lots of good things happening.
We got a few things to talk about on the agenda today. A busy night last night at Council, and we'll get to the money issue, which is always a hot button issue on the Mayor Chat. But I know you came in here today wanting to discuss bullying in Swift Current.
Yeah, well, you know what? Bullying is something that obviously is very topical nowadays. There's lots of governments, lots of high-profile individuals, lots of cases of unfortunate teen suicide and whatnot as a result of bullying. And you know what? I can remember growing up, I was bullied, and I bullied, and that's unfortunately a part of teen life. But nowadays, it's so much more with technology and cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we're going to do here at the city, and I know other levels of government are tackling it as well, we're going to take this on and try and become as proactive as we can to help our community out, and certainly reach out and work with other partners in the community. And there is one example that I want to bring to the awareness of parents, and it's an app. If your kid has a cell phone or things like that, it's called ask.fm, and it is a site that it's very similar to Facebook or Twitter, where kids have a page, or you have a page, and you can make posts on it or answer questions and things like that. But this one has a feature where you can be anonymous. So some of the stuff that gets posted on there is incredibly awful. And I know in the UK there's been some articles written about the high incidence of teen suicide as a result of bullying from this ask.fm site. So if you're a concerned parent, maybe have a chat with your family if you think this is an app that's good for them. And as I said, bullying is going to be something that we're going to be dealing with pretty significantly here in the city going forward.
You say dealing with it going forward. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Partnerships within the city with Chinook School Division, RCMP?
For sure. Partnerships with the school divisions, obviously Health Region, RCMP. Raising awareness, I think, is a huge issue for that, making sure kids know that they have a place that they can reach out to if they're feeling stressed by it, if they are feeling bullied, and just tackling it head on. I think as a community we've got a responsibility that if we know there's bullying going on, don't sit back and let it happen. I think when it's going on, call people out on that.
Well said. Last night, City Council. Yeah. The top story in the news today, there's a number being thrown out, $14.9 million or something of that nature. Yeah. It's always a red flag with some citizens whenever the city takes on more debt.
Yeah, you know what, Ryan? Debt and spending and all that sort of stuff has certainly been a feature in past council races. It's very topical in discussion. And last night we did pass a bylaw stating that we will be looking to borrow more funds to continue with not operations, but to fund capital projects that have been approved in previous budgets. And they range from anywhere from upgrades to water and wastewater treatment plants to obviously significant technology upgrades. When the city of Swift Current has to upgrade servers and things like that, it's $600,000. And so over time, our finance team has been able to defer a lot of this project, but it's come time that we have to borrow the funds, and that's where we are. And one of the discussions that we're trying to get in front of more than anything is this whole idea of, are we going to be a community that uses debt to fund a lot of our capital projects? So because we don't have the cash flow to pay for some things, we borrow it and hope to pay it off over the next 5 to 20 years. Or do we want to be a community that has a higher level of cash flow and doesn't have to take on as much debt? And I know I sound like I pick on Yorkton all the time, but the reason why I use them as an example is because they're the same size as us. So they have the same service demands from their residents. Obviously, they'd have very similar commercial, industrial, and residential needs. As a community, they collect about $4 to $5 million more per year in tax revenue than we collect in tax revenue and light and power revenue. So just simple math. Over the last 10 years, if we had that $4 million per year, our debt would be cut in half. So that's a huge difference between why communities have different debt levels, and even little things. If Yorkton comes out and says they've got a 6% tax increase, Ryan, that represents close to $1 million in revenue. For us to get $1 million of revenue, we need about a 10% tax increase. So percentage-wise, very different numbers, but net dollar-wise, they're much different. So we just are going to continue to be very proactive, letting our residents know that it's big numbers and it can be daunting and overwhelming, but we're in good fiscal health and it's how we are. And going forward, we have to decide if we want to continue to use our light and power dividend as a subsidy for property taxes, or to as a tool to avoid having to use debt to pay for capital items.
So summarizing, we're going into debt. There is debt, but one of the main reason we're in debt is because our taxes are still quite lower than average. Is that a fair thing to say?
We have significantly lower revenues, and if our revenues were higher, there's a lot of items that we could pay cash for, but we don't, so we use debt to fund it. So you're exactly right.
All right. Hey, fair enough. That doesn't happen often, so I'm going to pat myself on the back, and thank you very much for coming in. Always a pleasure, Jerrod.
Right on. Thanks, Ryan.